Hey everyone, this is Mike Gormley sitting in for Jeremiah Higgins. Jeremiah, we don't know where he is, but I'm sure he'll be back tomorrow or someday soon. He always comes back. Uh, we have today with us Doug Legacy. I'm not going to go into his background too much because I want him to tell us. But he is fronting a band called Dr. Soundgood, featuring Doug Legacy. And he's been around the LA area for a while, and he's toured with some very interesting people. And we're going to hear about that today. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Mike. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are things going?
Everything's going well. Just been out doing a little yard work today, you know.
A little hard work. Okay. That's an exciting interview.
Yeah, no, I live on a hill here in Silver Lake, and it's a lovely neighborhood, but and I own the lot next door, which is a lot of weeds.
Oh,
So
I'll bet.
yeah, so I've been out there with a weed eater today, and I feel good.
When I first came to California many years ago, I was a student, and I wanted to get back home for Christmas, which was Ottawa, Canada. And I earned money to do that by pulling weeds in people's backyards. So I know what you're going through.
Yeah, well, me and my buddy, when we were kids, I'm from Houston originally, you know, and also Louisiana and Arkansas, that kind of area. And my buddy and I would go down to the bayou, which was about a mile away from our house, and dig up trees and plant them in people's yards for $5 a piece. So
Oh,
that's how we made our date money or bought our instruments or whatever, you know.
yeah.
And before that, I used to shine shoes and shoot pool to pay for my piano lessons. But so yeah, I get
How
it.
old were you then?
I'm sorry.
How old were you then?
Oh, 11, I think. You
What?
know, about
11?
11, 10 or 11. You know, I
You were
started.
taking piano lessons at a young age then.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to give me lessons when I was younger, and I'd already started playing by ear, and I couldn't dig playing the stupid songs they wanted us to play, and the lady kept hitting my hand with rulers, and so I totally rejected the first lessons I had, and but then later when I was in the band, and they wanted me to play for the choir and wanted me to read music. Oh my God! So I had to get some lessons, and I found this great concert pianist in a little shopping mall around the corner from my house in Houston. This guy named Herbert Telschik. Him and his brother had a piano teaching studio there, and started taking lessons from him. And he was just so inspiring, and really turned me around, made me want to be better.
But you mentioned his name. Did he remain a teacher, or was he out in the music world, or what do you think?
He went, he toured when he was younger. By the time he had the studio, they were probably about my age. I don't know, in their late 60s at least.
Yeah.
And so, he'd already been around, done all the touring and stuff. And he was just, him and his brother were teaching there in Houston, and they were there for quite a while.
What was the first time you played in public?
I had a band called the Woodchucks. It was me and another guy named, my first name's Charles and his name was Charles. And my dad says, "Why don't you call yourselves the Woodchucks?" We go, "Oh, okay," And some backyard party, down the street. I think it was in, God, what that was in Arkansas. We were in third grade,
Oh,
and he had a set of drums, and we hauled this Hammond organ that I have in my studio today over there, and I played that. My dad bought this Hammond A100 in Little Rock, Arkansas, 1962. And other than that one trip down the street to play at the backyard party, it never saw the road. So it's in pretty pristine shape. It's a beautiful, yeah.
it's you grew up. You mentioned several states you grew up in. which one did you really grow up in, and then how did you? A lot of the music you do seems to be New Orleans based, and,
Well,
so that you were there for a while, or just
the
nearby?
deal was New Orleans was the place I lived the least, but made the biggest influence on me, really. As far as what I like to eat and the music I listen to, just the radio. Listening to the AM radio when I was a kid for a year or so in New Orleans was mind blowing. And I heard a lot of meters and rock and dipsy kind of stuff, and oh God, Lee Dorsey, and Alan,
Sure, yeah.
and, Dr. John and Professor Long.
John, yeah.
And then we moved to Arkansas, and I didn't, I couldn't dig it, but we had to stay there for a while. Then we, came back to Dallas and then moved back to Houston, and I spent, since another 8 or 9 years in Houston before I went off to Austin, which was pretty influential too. But
yeah, how long were you in Austin?
Just for a year. I was going to school at UT, majoring in music and minoring in oceanography, which mostly textbook stuff the first year. But then a bunch of stuff happened, and I ended up getting in a band in Houston during the summer, and never went back to Austin. And my sister-in-law got me involved with singing for the Houston Symphony Chorus, and then and through that I got to sing for the ballet a little bit in a quartet, which was a whole lot of fun. But it was real serious.
Yeah, they don't fool around.
Yeah, we were doing like oh Fortuna, that kind of stuff, and Brahms, and it was a lot of fun. But and to make money though, I was like playing in a country band or a rock and roll band, and I finally started putting my own bands together. And at one point, my parents took us to the Caribbean, and I fell in love with steel drums. So me and my pal took a road trip to Florida, and jumped on a plane to Jamaica and got some steel drums where I had heard them. If I had any sense, I would have said, let's go to Trinidad and get some really good ones, which I did later. But we had these Jamaican steel drums for years and we had a band in Houston called the Montrose Marching Band, which eventually came to LA and won the Gong Show. Hey.
All right. You won the Gong Show?
I did. We got 3 tens, played Stars and Stripes Forever. And at one point,
on YouTube?
Oh yeah, you can find it if you look hard enough.
That's a riot.
J.P. Morgan and Joni Farr and the guy from MASH, what's his name? Okay, I can't think of his name. But and then later when I was working for Rod Stewart, they called me to do the nighttime Gong Show. And my drummer had already split to go off with Joe King Carrasco for a long time. He's still with him, I think. Dick Ross, great drummer. But so I asked Carmine Appice to come with me to do the Gong Show. And he said, let's do it, And that's a whole nother story. But unfortunately, his crazy wife at the time got involved, and we got thrown out before they filmed it. It's a long story.
When did what was the first tour? What was the first time you actually jumped in a van or whatever it was and started playing outside of your regular area?
Well, the first big tour I was on, I wasn't playing on except after the show in bars later on, which, led to some other stuff. I was working for ZZ Top because the art director was a buddy of mine, and he wanted me to help him, with the flooring, and he was painting the floors, and we had all these huge props that were like styrofoam boulders, and we went out to in the middle of nowhere in Texas and found these huge tumbleweeds and stuff. And I was driving this truck full of totally weightless stuff. It was like I was getting blown off the road every night. But playing in the bars with all the guys after the gigs got me involved with their manager, who tried to get me to play with another band he had called Navasota for a while, but I didn't have the right gear and stuff, and then they didn't want to buy me gear, and another guy had the gear, so I didn't keep that gig, but it all worked out. But yeah, and then I guess after that, we just ran around playing gigs out of our car in Texas for a while. But after I came out to LA, I was we were living in a big band house eventually after we got through living in the van and driving around, dragging our steel drums out and playing on the street kind of stuff. But we had this band house, and I was, to support the band, I was tuning pianos, and I got started tuning for a lot of rock shows, and I was tuning for Rod Stewart, and they asked me to go on the road with them. And then Rod found out that I played steel drums, so he wanted me to play steel drums too, because he loves steel drums. And I ended up doing a couple tours with him, and in between that, I worked for ELO and a bunch of other people. And
But this was kind of like a crew member in some way, or a piano tuner, or what?
yeah, I was the keyboard tech, and sometimes I would tune the guitars too. But this was always like I would do that for about half of the year, and then run back and play with my band and do all these stupid showcases and stuff around town. And until I had the Zydeco Party Band, when we finally got some real gigs, and we're doing stuff like the Muppet Show and the Late Mr. Pete Show and a lot of festivals and things like that. We had a pretty good involvement with the Disney people. We were doing a lot of Disney stuff too, and I still work for Disney a lot.
You just skimmed over an interesting point, which was the Zydeco Party Band was on the Muppets Show.
It was. That was one of the most fun things. Another band I worked for was Oingo Boingo one time, and so I knew Richard Gibbs, who was the musical director for Oingo for the Muppets at the time. It was Muppets Tonight, actually. It was a sequel to the Muppets, which didn't do. I mean, it did okay in the States. It did a whole lot better in Europe and other places because for one thing, they tried to replace Kermit with a Rasta puppet, which I thought was really cool, but I don't know if it's gonna go over, in certain parts of the United States, and it didn't. But I still get little residual checks and stuff. I was lucky enough to get to whistle the theme song and stuff like that, and I've got to do quite a lot of whistling tracks and over the years. It's one of my favorite sessions because you walk in with nothing, and it's SAG about half the time. So.
Just jumping, I don't know where it fits into your life, but you toured with Rod Stewart for a while.
That was early on, that was like 78. And that was when I met Jimmy Z, who plays in my band now. He was playing saxophone and harmonica, of course. Later he played with the Eurythmics and Jeff Beck and a bunch of other people. But they made him play congas with me when I was playing the steel drums on a few songs, and and Elton was coming around to the gigs a lot, and Elton just loved the steel drum. So he was every time he'd come, he would suggest to Rod, well, why don't you have him play on this song with this song? And so by the time the tour was over, man, I was playing almost the whole set, and it was great for me because they were paying me by the song. Got better and better.
Well, that's good. How long was that? How long were you out with them?
We did a couple tours, they were both lasted about 6 months a piece. It was all around the 80s, 1979, 80, 81, something like
that. Have you seen the world? Have you been around the world with these various tours or what?
I have been a lot of places. I almost went to Russia, but I didn't get to go to Russia. The tour that Billy Joel, I'd worked at a couple tours for Billy, and they called me to do the tour that he ended up going to Russia on. But I had just been on the road with Stevie Nicks for like a long time, and I was like, I needed to go see my kid. I just go right out on the road like tomorrow, So I didn't do that one. And another one I turned down was a Bruce Springsteen tour that was that huge one. And actually, I changed my mind and called him back in 10 minutes, and they had already booked it. And I went,
That's why you would have been gone for a long time. I mean, that was a year or more, right?
Yeah, and a bunch of stuff happened. I got to work with Rakuder and a bunch of other stuff that I wouldn't have got to do if I'd gone out with Bruce, of course. But of course, I probably would have had my house paid for by now if I'd have gone out with Bruce. And everybody made a bunch of money on that one. But that's okay. Bruce, I got to work with Little Stevie too, probably because I didn't do that Bruce tour. Later on, when I was coaching Dan Aykroyd how to pretend to play accordion in this movie that Little Stevie was the musical director for. And I ended up, doing all the accordion tracks, with Little Stevie and Dan in the studio. And it was a lot of fun. And
how did Aykroyd do it? Did he pick it up?
You know, Aykroyd never could get it. He'd have we'd be rehearsing it, and he would do great. Just all you got to do is don't move your hands too much. You know, just up and down, push the buttons, especially the left hand. Don't move it up and down too much. You know, as soon as you get out there on camera, you start putting spaz out. You know, oh, you know. So they ended up using me for the close-up shots. It was my hands with his ring on and his shirt on.
Ah, right, yeah.
You know, rubber banded up here because it was his shirt was like, you know, way too big for me, and but it, you know, so that ended up being nice too. I ended up getting a SAG deal on that one too. So, but he was great, and he was such a gentleman. He in an interview one time he mentioned me and said really nice things, you know. And then little Steven gave my records to little Steven gave my records to Bruce, and so when Bruce came to town to play the Greek one time, his manager called me and said, "Oh, could you please bring some of your CDs over because we want to use them for walk-in music for the show. And, you know, we want to give you some tickets to the show and blah blah blah." You know, and unfortunately, I had a gig or something, and I couldn't go to the show. But you know, it was really cool that Bruce wanted to play my music for his walk-in stuff. You know, and that, and you know, $5 buys me a cup of coffee.
Well, he has good taste in music, I hear.
That's what I heard too.
Maybe not so much lately, evidently, but
Bruce is a fan.
He's the man. Can't deny it.
I have to admit, a show I saw of his when I was very young was really influential. I mean, he was such a powerhouse.
Yeah,
and it played for hours, you know. And the opening act was Tom Waits, and he was playing accordion and then the whole bit, and it was just awesome. You know, I'd never heard of him before. I was about 19, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first saw Springsteen, it was in a 2,500 seat auditorium.
Right.
Oh man, he just nonstop. I mean, he had so much energy.
It was so inspiring. Him and Rod Stewart was like that too in the early days. They would just, you know, Rod was running all around the place, you know, just nonstop, and you know.
Well, you can't do that with an accordion.
Yeah, you can. It is
You can?
oh man, you know, that's why I have a wireless, man. You know, I mean, the other big inspiration for me was watching Clifton Chenier, because his brother Clifford, you know, was a rubboard player, and he was wireless, and he would, you know, he wasn't wireless. He didn't need to be wireless. In the places where I saw him, he was running around the room, you know, with that rubboard on, and the rain was hitting the ceiling so hard that it couldn't drown out that rubboard, man. He had this, you know, finger picks in this hand and a big handle off an old Coke machine. Remember those big handles are about as big as a shoe or something, you know. And by the end of the show, he would have rubbed a hole in that rubboard with that thing, man. He was just unbelievable.
I'm just going back to ZZ Top for a second. Was that tour the one where they had the Longhorn and the rattlesnake and everything else on stage?
And vultures too.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that in Chicago.
I think I did the one right before that. We didn't have the Longhorns yet, but we had vultures and something else. God, you know, the Longhorns were on the next one, and by then I was already out in California, I think.
Yeah, wow, that was an amazing evening. Great music, but the visuals were something else.
Yeah, God, I only a few years ago I took my daughter to see ZZ Top with Jeff Beck at the Greek. And it was an inspiring show for both of us. You know, my daughter's a musician too, and you know, God, what a loss. You know,
yeah.
So Jeff Beck died.
It's education. If you've got the music in you, almost anything is an education. So many things feed into what you're going to do musically, and whether it's a concert or a book you read or whatever it might be, it affects you. It becomes part of your DNA, and that becomes part of the music. Is your daughter writing?
Yeah, she's a great songwriter, and you know, she's supporting her music habit, editing film and that kind of stuff. But she's got a new record coming out, and she's, you know, made a few videos. Actually, the guy that made her video that did really well got picked up by some, you know, Diddy something or other. She does country western stuff. So I got Diddy something podcast thing, and then they played it a bunch for a while. Anyway, the guy that did her video is the guy that I'm going to do a show with at the Zebulon coming up this month, and also with
Well, he did your video.
He produced my last video.
Well, that's a coincidence because we're going to have to go to commercial, but we're going to go to commercial listening to a song called Pool Shark. And the video on Pool Shark is, you go to YouTube and look up Dr. Soundgood, and it's a really cool video and a really cool song. So we're going to hit a commercial for a minute, and we'll be back. But listen to Pool Shark.
All right.
Okay, let's do segment 2 if you're ready.
Yeah.
Can I get a drink real quick? 1 minute. I just want to grab something because I'm dying.
What's happening here?
I just need to grab a drink really quick.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. We'll consider this intermission.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Shark.
All right. Okay, I am back.
All right, cool. All right, we'll be going back into the interview, and we'll be brought in by your version of Meet the Boys on the Battlefront.
Oh, cool.
So go ahead, Richard.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Hi, this is Jeremiah's show. I'm Mike Gormley, and Jeremiah is missing in action. I hope he's doing okay. We just heard a song called Meet the Boys in the Battlefront, being done by Dr. Soundgood, featuring Doug Legacy. And that's just that's a standard, isn't it? That song, really, it's reached that point now.
It's an old traditional. A lot of guys have covered it. I always like the Wild Chapatula's version. That's kind of what this version is closest to, and I added the little lick between the verses, that nobody else has done yet. So what the heck is it? I put my little mark on it. But
well, that song comes from the background to Mardi Gras is clubs, they called them, I think, or tribes. That there was a battlefront at one point where they mixed up, and then the next thing you know, they're all in a parade together. But can you explain that a little bit?
I wish I knew my history on Mardi Gras better. I've read it, and it's fascinating, and I love it, and I generally read it over before I start writing songs about Mardi Gras again. But yeah, they were very competitive, and it was pretty dangerous, at times. That's Meet the Boys on the Battlefront was, one of those songs about the stuff that went down. Don't you touch my flag or steal my queen, you'll have more trouble than you ever seen. Kind of stuff. But yeah, the like one of the oldest. Oh God, I don't think they call them clubs. God, my brain.
It was like tribes or something. You're right. I can't remember the exact description.
They were like tribes. If not, I know there are tribes of real tribes of Indians. The mixed breed Indians, like the Wild Chapatulas and the Magnolias and all those other. I wish
they're in that song. The Wild Chapachula is going to stomp someone.
Yeah, going to stomp
someone in that song. They're not fooling around.
Oh, absolutely. My wife lived in New Orleans, right across the street from the Preservation Hall for a while. So wow. She's really more, she knows all that stuff. I wish I had her down here. I should have thought of that. She could have talked Mardi Gras with us a little bit. But I just, I love Mardi Gras. Actually, the crowd noise was when we were. My favorite thing about Mardi Gras really is the pre-Mardi Gras parties. Because they're not so crazy, and the folks are a little bit more homemade, and you're not probably going to get your wallet stolen or whatever as easy as you can at Mardi Gras, which happened to us one time. But so that we were there just a few years ago. Jennifer and I were doing a cruise or something going out of New Orleans that was happening right around that time. So we were there for pre-Mardi Gras, and my niece was with us too. That she actually sings in my band now too, and she was recording the crowd noise with her iPhone, and that's the crowd noise in the track you just heard.
Oh wow, so that's cool. So that song, well, actually, the two songs we've heard so far and several more coming up are from a new album coming out the 17th of February, and it's called Lagniappe. Is that
Lagniappe?
Lagniappe, and
Yep.
And that is a New Orleans
It's an real word, you know. It means a little something extra or a bonus. They say, "Oh, give me a little lagniappe with that now," you know. So, okay, well, here's a couple extra donuts or whatever, you know. And so I thought that was a pretty cool. I had forgotten all about it, and then the girl that helps with my social media, Susan Short, you know, said, you know, remember lagniappe? I'm, oh yeah, lagniappe. So, you know, then I wrote a song about it.
But she's the one who named the album.
But she's the one that came up with, yeah, she gave me the idea to name the album that.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, it's Susan's fault.
Well, tip of the hat to Susan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she takes care of your social media and website and things like that, right?
drsoundgood.net and douglegacy.com. You know.
Yeah, got it covered.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Soundgood is basically, you know, my Zydeco Party Band on steroids doing much more, you know.
Yeah. Well, explain why there's a Dr. Soundgood and not a Zydeco Party Band. This is a different album. It's different enough to change the name.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some, you know, hints of Zydeco on this record, but there's no real Zydeco songs on it. And I just want to start to stretch out a little bit more. I mean, I've always had to do that in LA anyway. And we were doing some gigs right after we, you know, started releasing some songs from the record, and we were playing the new record at a couple of gigs, and people that didn't really know us, you know, that had seen the name, you know, advertised Zydeco Party Band, came in and said, well, are you guys going to play Zydeco or not? We all went, oh, yeah, I guess so we did, of course. You know, I can definitely still play Zydeco all night if I, you know, if they want it. But I just want to do more, you know, and Dr. Soundgood kind of leaves it, you know, more opening to more diverse stuff, you know, and we can still play Zydeco, but, you know, as long as it sounds good, it's okay. I think it's more than that.
Cool. We talked about some of the music on here. Coming up pretty soon, when we get to another commercial, we'll actually listen to the song Lagniappe. Am I saying that right?
Lagniappe.
Lagniappe. Okay. Oh, you don't pronounce the G.
Nope.
Lagniappe. All right.
It's a French thing, you know.
If you say so.
You know, it's a melting pot down there. There's all kinds of people and music, and that's what I love about New Orleans. No place else in the world like it.
Did you write Lagniappe? I
did write it along with my drummer and bass player Gary Ferguson and Taras Berdanyuk. And
it came out of a little jam session, or you sat down with the idea of writing
it was kind of, you know, Gary sent me a little, you know, I mean, I wrote a couple things in the car, you know, just shot into my phone and sent it out to the boys. And Gary did like a chorus thing and sent it to me. And then I totally took it another direction, actually, and then wrote a bunch of lyrics. And then Taras at one point, you know, helped with the arrangement and some ideas about licks and stuff. And so it was a collaborative thing, you know. I guess I wrote most of the lyrics, but you know, we all kind of pitched in and got it done.
Do you ever do other, I don't know, professions or whatever than music, or is it just all music in your life?
Well, I've been a piano tuner for many years, which is, got me into a lot of great circles that would have been hard to get into without that skill, and rebuilt pianos for a while, off and on, not a full-time thing, but I probably restrung a piano a year for 40 years or so.
Wow. Wow.
And but I also did some acting, and I used to live next door to a commercial agent, and she sent me out for commercials. And when I was first doing it, man, I was so gung ho and really super energetic. I was getting most of them, but most of them were like custom made for me, like playing accordion or whistling or just being crazy or something. And but it was very lucrative for a while, but that was when I was younger and a little cuter, but what else?
A little young and a little cuter.
Well,
I'm still cute, but I was cuter then.
Absolutely. I had a commercial a while back. Wasn't that long ago. I was for Kia, and I was running through a field with a bunch of other musicians carrying this big accordion, and I'm just still amazed I didn't break my leg doing that. And I'm amazed that there wasn't any major accidents on that, because the whole field was covered with gopher holes, and then this park out in Long Beach, and
Was covered with what?
Gopher holes.
Oh, gopher holes. But tuning pianos, that's pretty amazing. I mean, and you don't have to mention them, but you get into some pretty heavy duty celebrity homes, get their piano set, and also band. You tune so for they're going out on the road, they need to get tuned up.
Yeah, I mean, I still tune for rock stars daily, man. I mean, and like I was did the Jimmy Kimmel show the other day. I mean, I've met a whole lot of cool people doing it. I will tell you that much for sure. And gotten to be in the right place at the right time. Kind of thing. Yeah, piano tuning's been very good for me. It's it's a way to keep the boat floating without getting too far.
Sure. Away from music. But it's still music related. I mean, music is the thing that basically you exist for.
Yeah, well, and it's been really good for my ear, of course.
Yeah.
It would be so beneficial for them to teach just what piano tuning is about to music students. You don't have to teach them how to tune a piano. I mean, it'd be great if they wanted to do it. Because I've tried to find guys to teach it to for years, and 95% of them give it up because it's too difficult. It's not that difficult to learn the basics, but you have to practice it a lot before you can really hear that top octave and that kind of stuff. And so but it takes practice, and you can't really charge a full price. You might spend hours on it, whereas when you go into somebody's home, you better be out of there within an hour or two, or they start to worry. But if you do it for your friends and say, "Hey, man, I'm just learning this, and I'm not charging you hardly anything, but I might take all day on this," you got to find enough of those kind of pianos to get good at it before you can start, tuning for rock shows. I mean, it was a special skill, I have to admit, when I was younger, to be able to tune for rock shows, because it was they're most of the time, as were behind schedule. They couldn't shut everything down and be quiet while the piano tuner was there. It's like, do the best you can, but we're not stopping production. Most of the time I was tuning with headphones on, plugged into a piano pickup or something. Yeah. And most piano tuners, wouldn't do that. They just said, I don't need this. I've got plenty of home piano tunings to do that are, no big deal. And I could have done that too, but I didn't want to go out and do all the home piano tunings of people that only tune their pianos every 10 years and go, what do you mean I had a tune 10 years ago? Nobody ever plays it. How come it's not, how come you're taking so long? How come I didn't hold a tune? All that kind of stuff. I mean, it's, I just always enjoyed, working for rock shows. And so I worked for Avalon and Wolf and Rist Miller, did almost all their shows. At one point when I was doing it, I had backstage passes that covered walls in my room, from all the shows that I had tuned for. I wish I had taken a picture of that, but I never did. I can't believe it.
But we were talking about Lagniappe, which is the name of the album, as well as the next song we're going to hear. We'll listen to it as we head into a commercial.
One of my favorite tracks on the record.
All right, thank you.
All right, stand by. Let me get you started here on the next segment in 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Hi, it's Mike Gormley, and this is the Jeremiah Show, and we're with Doug Legacy, exceptional musician, working with his band, which is Dr. Soundgood, featuring Doug Legacy, and they're going to be doing dates coming up. But before we get to that, we just heard "Right Now, Man" from the album.
Oh, cool.
And let's talk about the band a little bit. You got some guys, you got some heavy duty guys in this band.
I absolutely do. I'm very lucky to have all the guys in the band, and the guys that did the horn arrangements on that last one. Bill Churchville, he every now and then he plays with us, but he's so busy working with Tower Power and people like that, you know. But he did some great arrangements on the record, including the one on "Right Now, Man." It really brought that song to life. But of course, Jimmy Z brought Bill into the band, and I've been working with Jimmy, off and on since 1980. He's had his own bands, of course, but he's been in the Zydeco Party Band for the last 10 years at least, and along with his own band too. But when Randy Ray Mitchell on the guitar, he was with Donna Summers for like 25 years or something, and he played with Edgar Winter and Warren Zevon and all kind of great people. And he's always, he was the very first substitute for my original guitar player, Mark Shark, who I do miss terribly. He's such a funny man and a great singer and slide guitar player. I mean, it's like Ray Cooder, Mark Shark, come on, and David Lillard, maybe Sonny Landreth, okay, but those four guys, my favorite, and Randy Mitchell, I mean, come on. He plays great slide too, but Randy produced Lagniappe, that song we heard a little while ago,
Oh yeah,
a record, and played some killer guitar on that song. Gary Ferguson, my drummer, was with Eddie Money for years, and John Hyatt, and he's played with Stevie Nicks, all kind of people, and he used to have a recording studio that we made some of the early Zydeco Party Band records at, and so Gary's a great engineer as well. And my new bass player since the beginning we started on this record, I grabbed him and said, "Oh, you're not leaving. You're my bass player now." Ross Berdanyuk, and he's been with all kind of great people, including Merle Haggard and Pete Anderson and Lucinda Williams, and just the other night he played with Shooter Jennings, and Taras is just great, and he's a great producer and collaborator. He one of the songs on the record that we just I get to do in a little bit is Saturday's Child. He came up with a section for that I wrote that song at the beginning of it like years and years ago, but I never had really finished it. But he's a good finisher. That's I think one of his big skills in my book anyway.
Is there a video on Saturday's Child? Is there one?
Yeah, we did a video on that first over at Randy Ray Mitchell's studio, and that if you look for go to YouTube and look up Doug Legacy and Saturday's Child, you'll find that. Yeah, I was just gonna say something else about Rand. Another person in the band that I forgot to mention is Gia Ciambati, and she's just she was background singer for Bruce Springsteen and a bunch of other cool people. Worked with Lucinda and a bunch of more people. Yeah. But she really, she came in and I thought we were gonna have to work on it with her all day. Within 2 hours, she had 7 songs knocked out. I didn't tell her anything to do. Just do what you do. What you think you ought to do. Where it was a little more difficult with other situations I had working with background singers on other records. But she was just amazing. And
I've seen the band a few times. I haven't seen horns in this band, although they're on the record, right?
Yes, sir. You pretty much always see Jimmy Z with the saxophone, but we rarely have a budget to bring Bill or more horns. I'd love to have 3 horn players, trumpet, trombone, saxophone, but Jimmy does a good job with the sax, and and nobody beats him on harmonica, of course.
Yeah. Well, the I was gonna talk about. Are you finished with the band members? I thought we had missed one.
Who did we miss?
Randy and Gary and Taras and Jimmy.
Bill and Gia, and my when we need another background singer, my niece sings with us, Jalinda Palmer, and those that's it for now. More to come.
Did you produce the album? You mentioned one person producing the title track, but were you involved in producing the rest of the album?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I'd like to think of it as a three-way production effort between Gary, Taras, and myself. I probably put the most hours in on it because we did it at my studio mostly until we went in and did a few more tracks. So we're not whole tracks, but we like I did redid a couple vocals and we ran the drums through the boards at Jackson Brown's studio. I ran into Jackson at a wake, unfortunately, for a good friend of ours, and told him I was working on this record, and he said, "Hey, why'd you come over to the studio?" I had done an album at his studio years ago that was my best album up until this one. Really is King Cake Party, but that Jim Keltner produced and had Ry Cooder and all those guys on it, and we did that at Jackson Studio, Groove Masters. So I was super thrilled to get to go back to Groove Masters again, and because he's got all the cool stuff, and I redid a couple vocals through some really nice mics, and then I had my buddy Joe Napolitano mix the record. He used to engineer at Capitol.
Yeah, right. Great engineer.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna slide into one of those things called commercial again, but we're gonna go in with a decidedly not New Orleans song by this guy Dylan called "Lay Lady Lay." You threw that in there.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of calypso in New Orleans. Reggae kind of stuff. It's just such a melting pot. It's so close to the Caribbean and stuff. But you can find anything in New Orleans. But yeah, this is kind of a New Orleans, reggae-ish calypso version of "Lay Day, Lay Day."
We'll take a listen to it and slide into a commercial, and we'll be back in a minute.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, gentlemen.
We're almost done.
Segment that'll run about 5 minutes, and it'll be a wrap up of the program here. So keep that in mind and put this over here. And here we go in 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. It's Mike Gormley sitting in for a period of time, specifically an hour, which is almost up. But we're talking Doug Legacy. Doug is leading the band called Dr. Soundgood, featuring Doug Legacy, and playing around town. You got some dates coming up, right?
We are. We're going to be playing at the Zebulon on the 28th, and I play almost every Sunday at the Red Lion Tavern down there in Silver Lake.
You on the piano, right?
Yeah, just doing whatever I want to do.
And then there's the Redwood?
Oh, the Redwoods. My daughter is doing a residency at the Redwood in March, and it's one of those kind of things where she has 3 or 4 bands every night with her. They play before or after her band. I'm not sure, but we're going to do one of those on March 14th. That'll be fun. Just a quick set, and
you have a great website. Dr. Soundgood has a great website, and on there are gigs listed, or as they come up, they're on there. So what's do you remember the link for the website?
drsoundgood.net, and I'm going to have a link there shortly where you can get on our mailing list.
Yeah. Okay.
I used to have a really good email, hit list that I'd send out thing all the time, but I'm trying to put that back together again. So everybody, please come sign up, and I'll start where we're playing.
You're playing outside LA, or you're staying in LA for the most part? LA area or Southern California, let's say.
Well, I would really love to go play in Houston and Austin and New Orleans soon. Because for one thing, there's a guy playing some of my songs on the Pacific radio station in Houston, a guy named Roke, and I miss Houston. Every time and I've got some people that remember me there, so I'm looking forward to doing that soon. But and I'm up for anything, of course. And but right now we're mostly playing in the LA area, and the last 2 years we've done at least one day a week at this festival they do at Mouseberry Farm. We're probably going to be doing that again this summer. Not sure what day of the week, but that's a lot of fun. It's a good stage, and nice venue. Good sound.
When you're doing those gigs, it's you stick to Zydeco, or as you do other things?
It's even though we called the band Zydeco Party Band, we never just played Zydeco, because you get away with that in LA. They hire a Zydeco band thinking that's what they want, and then after you do half an hour of Zydeco music, they go, well, don't you know some rock and roll or some blues or whatever? So you got to be more versatile. But I always pretty much have a Louisiana edge to it, though. I like to call it a swamp funk thing, And
I bet you did this at the farmers market every year around Mardi Gras. There was a pretty well attended concert every year, but LA players doing some incredible music.
I've done that a few times. It's a good gig. It's at the Gumbo Pot, which has been there forever.
Yeah.
And the Gumbo Pot's pretty good. I imagine when they first opened up, it was more authentic, but every Creole and New Orleans restaurant I've eaten at or worked at, played at, like the Brendan's Jazz Kitchen, even that I play at in downtown Disney, who's owned by the Ralph Brendan's of New Orleans. They have to dumb it down shortly afterwards because it's just too spicy for California folks, So it's hard to keep that. You go there and the hardcore people will go there and be so excited about a restaurant, and then within a few months, almost every time they start, it's just you have to, you take a sip and go, well, I need some Tabasco or something, More spices, please.
Believe it or not, we've hit the end of the road here. We're gonna go out a little bit early because we're gonna play all of Pool Shark, which we heard a little bit earlier in the show. But they're gonna play the entire song for everybody, and don't forget, you can go to YouTube and take a look at it. It's a great video. It's really cool. And Doug, want to just thank you very much. We'll see you along the way. Are you going to play in Santa Barbara sometime soon? I hope so.
I hope so too. I'm going to be looking into that soon. I'm just about to we just got the CD manufactured, and so I'm going to be sending out a bunch. And
working on the mechanics.
Yeah.
Well, look, great. We'll see at whatever dates are coming up. Zebulon on the 28th. That's going to be a big date.
And that's the big party. That's going to be
It's kind of a release party, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that'll be great. Let's listen to Pool Shark. This is a Jeremiah show. This is Mike Gormley been sitting in for Jeremiah, who is lost. But we'll find him, and he'll be hopefully back tomorrow. Doug, thanks so much. It was great just chatting with you for a while.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's always great to talk to you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Goodbye.
Doug, don't go anywhere. We would like to get a radio drop from you. Basically, introduce yourself, promote whatever it is you want to promote. If you can make it evergreen, that'd be even better. And then tag it out with, and you're listening to the Jeremiah Show.
Did you catch that, Doug?
Yeah. Am I saying this or are you saying this?
You're saying it.
Introduce yourself. Oh, okay.
Okay. And then you're going to promote whatever it is you want to promote, preferably something somewhat evergreen, if you will, and then tag it out with, and you're listening to the Jeremiah Show.
Okay, excuse my ignorance, but what is Evergreen about?
Well, it's so that we can play it more than between now and the 28th of February.
Yeah, tie it into, don't tie it into a specific date, because it could be used on and on. But if you tie it into one date, then it's over, you know, so just keep it general if you can.
Something generic.
Yeah.
When I mentioned Evergreen, though, what is Evergreen? Is that your company or?
No. When I use the term evergreen, meaning that it will, it's going to be something that we can play for a long period of time rather than something that's dated. The opposite of evergreen is dated.
Okay, I get it. I don't have to mention the word evergreen.
No.
That's what I thought you meant.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You want to give
All right, you guys do that.
All right.
Okay.
Now, here's the deal. Mike, I'm going to stop your video so that it's just him on the screen, okay?
Okay.
All right. And if you are ready, Doug, you let me know when you're ready.
Give me just another second.
No, go ahead.
I want to line this up so he sees me on the piano a little bit here. You see that?
Hey, that's not too bad.
I haven't. I'm still not getting the piano though, for some reason. Let's see. Well, maybe I need to get it up a little bit. Let me try something else here. This is real high tech stuff. My boxes and stuff.
The promo you're giving is it just for radio, Richard, or is it?
Well, Jeremiah likes to take the video because the video is still recording. He'll edit it so that we can use it at other times as well. So
Okay.
both the audio for the radio, but the video he'll use for YouTube.
Cool. Okay, ready, Doug?
I'm still not happy with my camera setup here. I'm almost got it together. I just,
We just did an hour show, and now you want to change the camera setup?
I'm gonna play a little piano too. I just wanted to. I thought that would be cool. Let's see if okay, maybe this was it. Okay.
That looks good.
All right, you ready? I'm going to start here. I'll count you down. All right. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Everybody's Doug Legacy here. Woo! I got a new band called Dr. Sound Good. We are so happy to have done the Jeremiah show today. And I hope you guys can listen in very often because he always has exciting people on there. Thank you very much for hanging with us today, and we'll see you real soon.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's perfect.
Great.
Turn your video back on. You can do so, Mike.
Yeah. We're done, aren't we?
We are done. We are a wrap.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, you are very welcome.
Doug, thanks so much. And Richard, thanks so much.
No problem. When we'll do it again next time.
All right. See you soon.
Talk to you later.
Come down for the Zebulon show, Richard.
I'm sorry, say again.
I hope you can make it for the Zebulon show. I'll put you on the guest list and stuff.
Well, thank you. And it's going to, and where's it going to be now?
It's called the Zebulon. It's right at the corner of Fletcher and the 5, kind of near the 2 freeway and the 5 freeway intersection.
Yeah, February 28th.
All right. Well, maybe Jeremiah and I might buzz on over there on that particular day, on that day.
That'd be cool.
It's going to be a heck of a party.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. I hope I can make it. And it's great to see you and get to meet you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.